Welcome, you are on the right channel. Joyce thought her life was perfect. She had everything she prayed for: a loving husband, a peaceful home, and a mother-in-law who treated her like her own daughter. Her husband Peter was a calm man. He didn't talk too much, but when he spoke, you listened. He worked in a bank and always made sure Joyce was comfortable. He gave her everything she needed: love, peace, and protection. Joyce loved him deeply. They had been married for 2 years, and not once had he raised his voice at her. Their home was always filled with laughter. She felt safe with him. Joyce's mother-in-law also loved her. From the very first day, the woman welcomed her with warm arms. She never made her feel like an outsider. In fact, some days, the older woman would visit just to sit and chat with Joyce. People in the neighborhood even admired their closeness. It was rare, but everything changed one night. That evening started like every other. Joyce had prepared Peter's favorite meal: pounded yam and a goosey soup. She even wore the orange dress he liked, the one he once said made her look like a queen. She was excited to see him. She had a surprise planned, a little gift to thank him for being such a good husband. She heard his car pull into the compound and quickly rushed to the door, smiling. "Welcome, my love," she said cheerfully. But Peter didn't smile back. He didn't say a word. His eyes were cold, his face hard. Joyce stepped back, confused. Peter walked straight into the house. He didn't remove his shoes. He didn't ask about the food or notice her dress. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed it to her. "Joyce," he said quietly, "who is this?" Joyce looked at the screen, and her whole body froze. It was a picture, a very old picture, but it was clear enough. It was her, lying on a bed, half covered with a man she thought she would never have to talk about again. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her heart pounded loudly in her chest. It felt like someone poured cold water on her. She looked at Peter's eyes again, hoping it was a prank, hoping he would laugh and say, "Got you." But he didn't. His face was like stone. Joyce tried to speak. "Peter, it's not what it looks like." But he had already turned his back. He walked straight into the bedroom, grabbed a small bag, threw in some clothes, and left the house. Joyce chased after him, barefoot, tears already running down her face. "Peter, please wait. Let me explain. Just listen to me." But Peter didn't stop. He entered his car, slammed the door, and drove off into the night. Joyce collapsed on the floor, crying loudly. The neighbors peeped from their windows. No one came out. No one said anything. Inside the house, Jomi stood by the stairs. She had seen everything. Jomi was Joyce's younger sister. She had been living with them since she got admission into the university in town. She was supposed to be like a daughter to Peter too. But Jomi wasn't surprised by what happened. No, she wasn't shocked. She looked calm, even cold, because Jomi knew about the picture. In fact, she had known about it for months. She knew when it was taken. She knew who sent it. She even knew what it meant. Joyce, lying on the floor, didn't notice her sister watching from the stairs. She was too broken to care. All she could think about was how fast her life had changed. One moment, she was preparing his favorite meal. The next, she was left alone and heartbroken. She cried until her chest hurt. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She kept calling Peter, but he never answered. The next morning, Joyce sat in the living room, staring at nothing. Her eyes were swollen. Her hands were shaking. She felt like a stranger in her own house. Jomi came downstairs quietly. She was holding her school bag. "Jomi," Joyce called out, her voice weak. Her sister turned slowly. "Do you know anything about that picture? Where did it come from?" Jomi looked her in the eye and said, "No, I don't know." Then she walked out the door. Joyce wanted to scream. She knew something was wrong. Something didn't make sense. That picture was from many years ago, before she even met Peter. She had never shared it, not even with her closest friends. How did it suddenly appear? And why did her sister lie? Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Peter. "Don't call me. We're done." Joyce stared at the screen. Her hands trembled. Her heart felt like it had been ripped out. She looked around the room. This home she had built with love. Every corner reminded her of Peter. The couch where they watched movies. The dining table where they laughed and ate together. The kitchen where she prepared his favorite dishes. Now all of it felt empty. Tears ran down her cheeks again. But deep down, something inside her whispered this was not the end. She didn't know where the picture came from, but she knew she needed answers. She needed to find out who had destroyed her marriage and why. And maybe, just maybe, the answers were closer than she thought. Joyce couldn't stop thinking. Peter was gone. Her marriage was broken. And the picture, that picture, had come from nowhere. She hadn't seen it in years. She didn't even have a copy. So how did it show up on Peter's phone? She thought about her sister, Jomi. The way Jomi had walked out that morning, calm and quiet. The way she had looked her in the eyes and said, "No, I don't know." But Joyce knew her sister. Jomi wasn't just her sibling. They had grown up like best friends. Joyce had raised her like a second mother. She had protected her when their father refused to pay her fees. She had helped her gain admission into the university. Jomi knew more than she said. Joyce waited for her to return home that evening. She didn't cry this time. She just sat on the couch, staring at the door. When Jomi came in, Joyce stood up slowly. "Sit," she said. Jomi looked surprised, but sat down. Joyce didn't waste time. "Tell me the truth. Where did the picture come from?" Jomi kept her eyes on the floor. "I don't know." Joyce stepped closer. "Jomi, that picture ruined my marriage. I need to know." But Jomi shook her head. "I already told you. I don't know." Joyce's heart broke again. It wasn't just Peter who had betrayed her, it was Jomi too. She turned away, tears gathering again. "Fine. Don't talk. But one day you will. And when you do, I hope it won't be too late." That night, Joyce couldn't sleep. Every corner of the house reminded her of Peter. She picked up her wedding photo from the table and held it close. She missed him. She missed how safe she felt beside him. She thought about calling her mother-in-law. The woman loved her and maybe could speak to Peter. But Joyce was too ashamed. What would she say? A picture from my past destroyed everything. And my own sister might have had something to do with it. She couldn't. Not yet. The next day, Joyce packed a small bag and left the house. She needed space. She needed to think. And her heart pulled her in one direction, the village. She hadn't been home in over 3 years. The last time she visited, her father had ignored her completely. He didn't care about her marriage. He didn't even attend the wedding. Joyce didn't care about seeing him. She was going to the village to clear her mind. Maybe talk to her mother. Maybe confess everything. Maybe cry in her childhood room and forget the pain for a while. The road to the village was quiet. The trees looked the same. The air was fresh and cool. But Joyce felt something different. Like something big was about to happen. When she got to the family house, she saw her father sitting under the mango tree in the compound. He had aged. His beard was now mostly white. He wore the same wrapper he always wore. Their eyes met. For a second, it seemed like he wanted to stand up. His arms moved, as if to open for a hug. But Joyce didn't stop. She just greeted him softly, "Good afternoon, sir," and walked past him, straight into the house with tears in her eyes. Her mother was in the kitchen, peeling yam. She turned and gasped, "Joyce, my daughter, what happened?" Joyce dropped her bag and broke down in tears. "Mama, I've lost everything." She told her mother everything. About the picture. About Peter leaving. About Jomi's silence. And then, she said the one thing she had never told anyone. Mama, it happened only once. I was in school. I was hungry. I was tired. You and Papa had stopped sending money. I begged. I cried. But nothing came. My friend said I should meet this lecturer. Her voice broke. He said he would help me if I slept with him. I was desperate. I agreed. Just once. I swear. I regretted it the next day. She sobbed harder. But now that one mistake, it destroyed everything. There was silence. Then they heard footsteps behind them. It was her father. He stood at the door. Joyce didn't look at him. She couldn't. She was too ashamed, too angry. He walked slowly into the room. My daughter, his voice was soft. I heard everything. Joyce wiped her face but didn't speak. Her father came closer. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Joyce turned, shocked. He continued, I stopped paying your school fees because I was angry at your mother. We were fighting. I wanted to punish her. I didn't know it would affect you like that. Joyce stared at him. I never imagined it would push you to something like that. I failed you. As a father. I'm sorry. He dropped to his knees. Joyce stood still. Her mother was crying now. I'm sorry, he repeated. Please forgive me. Joyce didn't know what to say. For years, she had blamed herself. But now her father was taking the blame. Everything was a mess. But maybe this was the beginning of something new. The beginning of healing. But she still didn't have answers about the picture. And she still couldn't trust her sister. Not yet. The morning after her father's apology, Joyce sat outside, watching the sun rise over the trees. She felt both light and heavy. Light, because her father had finally admitted his fault. Heavy, because her marriage was still broken, and she still didn't know who sent that picture. As she sipped warm tea her mother had made, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Peter. We need to talk. Alone. Joyce's heart skipped a beat. She read the message 3 times. She didn't reply immediately. What did he want to talk about? Was he ready to forgive her? Or was this about something else? Later that day, Joyce traveled back to town. Her legs trembled as she walked into the quiet restaurant where Peter had asked to meet. He was already there, sitting at a corner table looking tired. Older, like he hadn't slept in days. Joyce sat across from him. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Then Peter broke the silence. I asked around, he said. I searched for the truth. Joyce's eyes widened. I found the man in the photo, Peter continued. Your old lecturer. Joyce's mouth dropped open. You spoke to him? Peter nodded. I wanted to know if you had lied to me. But he told me the same story you told your mother. Joyce held her breath. He said it only happened once, and that he never contacted you again. He even apologized. Joyce lowered her head. I'm not proud of what happened, she whispered. I was desperate. Peter nodded slowly. I know. Another pause. Joyce watched his face closely. Peter, do you believe me now? Peter looked her in the eyes. Yes. Tears filled Joyce's eyes. Peter took a deep breath. But I still don't understand something. How did the picture end up on my phone? That's what kept me awake every night. Joyce looked away. I don't know. Peter's voice became quiet. I think your sister knows. Joyce's head snapped back. You think Jomi sent it? Peter didn't answer directly. The photo was sent through an anonymous number. But the way it was worded, it was someone who knew you. Someone who wanted to destroy your peace. Joyce felt cold all over. But why would Jomi do that? Peter shrugged. Sometimes people carry secrets that poison them inside. Joyce didn't want to believe it. Not Jomi. Not the sister she had sacrificed everything for. But something in her heart was beginning to break again. Peter stood up. I'm not giving up on us. But you need to find the truth. Your healing depends on it. Joyce watched him walk away. His words echoed in her mind like thunder. You need to find the truth. When Joyce got home, Jomi was in the living room watching TV. She stood up when Joyce walked in. "You're back?" she asked, forcing a smile. Joyce dropped her bag and stared at her sister. "Jomi, we need to talk." Jomi sat down, her face tight. "Do you have anything to tell me?" Joyce asked quietly. Jomi shook her head. "No." Joyce stepped closer. "Nothing about Peter?" "About the photo." Jomi's hands trembled a little. "Why are you asking me again?" "Because," Joyce said firmly, "Peter thinks you know something. And deep down, I do too." Jomi looked away. Joyce lowered her voice. "I need the truth, Jomi. Please." Silence. Then Jomi stood up suddenly. "I don't want to talk about it." She started walking away, but Joyce grabbed her hand. "You owe me this. I did everything for you, Jomi. I gave up so much for you. Just tell me the truth." Jomi pulled away. "I didn't mean for it to go that far." Joyce froze. "What?" Jomi's face crumbled. "I didn't mean for Peter to leave," she whispered. "I was just angry. I felt like you had everything and I had nothing." Joyce felt like the floor was shaking. "You sent the picture," she whispered. Jomi nodded, crying now. "One of your friends had it. They showed me. I begged them to send it to me. I wanted to scare you. I wanted you to see how it felt to lose something." Joyce's body went cold. "You wanted to scare me?" "I was jealous," Jomi sobbed. "You had Peter, a house, a good life. Everyone loved you. I was just your little sister, forgotten. I didn't know it would destroy everything." Joyce sat down slowly. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You could have talked to me," she said, shaking. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jomi fell to her knees. "I was ashamed. And after Peter left, I was scared to tell the truth. I didn't know how." Joyce covered her face. So this was it. Not a stranger, not an enemy, but her own sister. She didn't know whether to scream or cry. "Does Peter know?" she asked. Jomi shook her head. "No, I didn't tell him." Joyce wiped her eyes. "He suspects. And now I do too." There was silence between them. A heavy, painful silence. "I'm sorry," Jomi said again, voice breaking. Joyce didn't reply. She stood up and walked to her room. She closed the door and sat on the floor, holding her head in her hands. She had the truth now, but it didn't bring peace. It brought more pain. Joyce couldn't sleep that night. She lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart heavy with pain. Her sister Jomi, her own blood, had destroyed her marriage out of jealousy. And now, even after the truth came out, Joyce didn't know what to do. Forgiveness felt far away. Trust was gone. The next morning, Joyce sat at the kitchen table, slowly sipping Gary and groundnut. She hadn't spoken to Jomi since their painful conversation. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly, a knock came at the front door. She stood up slowly and opened it, and her heart stopped. It was Peter. He looked tired but calm, holding a small black bag. He stepped in without saying a word. Joyce closed the door behind him and followed. Peter sat on the couch and took a long look around the room. Then, his eyes landed on Joyce. "I had a dream," he said. Joyce blinked. "A dream?" He nodded. "Your mother came to me in the dream. She was crying. She said if I didn't fight for you, I would regret it for the rest of my life." Joyce didn't know what to say. Her throat felt dry. Peter continued, "I don't know what I believe anymore, but I do know that I still love you, and I want to try again." Joyce's eyes filled with tears. "Even after everything?" Peter nodded. "Even after everything." Joyce walked over and sat beside him. "I want to try too. I never stopped loving you." They sat in silence for a moment, just breathing. Then Peter asked, "Did your sister finally tell you the truth?" Joyce nodded slowly. "She did. And I'm still processing it," Joyce whispered. "She said she was jealous. She didn't know it would go this far." Peter sighed deeply. "I understand. But she can't stay here. Not now." Joyce looked up. What do you mean? She hurt you. She hurt us. If we're going to rebuild, we need peace. We can't live with someone who was willing to destroy everything. Joyce was silent. She loved her sister. But Peter was right. I'll talk to her, she said. Later that evening, Joyce called Jomi into the living room. Jomi came in slowly, her face pale, her eyes red from crying. She looked at Peter and lowered her head. Joyce stood in front of her. Jomi, I love you. But Peter and I are trying to fix our marriage. We need space. You can't stay here anymore. Jomi's lip quivered. Where will I go? Back to the village, Joyce said softly. At least for now. You need time to think, to grow, to find yourself. Jomi didn't argue. She knew she had caused too much pain. I understand, she said quietly. I'll leave tomorrow. Peter didn't say a word. He simply walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Joyce hugged her sister for the last time that night. There were no more words left between them. The next few weeks were peaceful. Joyce and Peter started again, slowly. They went out together, talked more, and even visited Peter's mother, who welcomed Joyce like a long-lost daughter. Peter's father, however, remained cold. He barely spoke to Joyce, even during family gatherings. Joyce didn't mind. She was used to the silence of men who carried secrets. One afternoon, as she was cleaning the sitting room, Peter's phone rang. He was in the shower, so Joyce picked it up and saw the caller ID. Mummy. She answered. Joyce, Peter's mother said in a shaky voice, please come quickly. It's your father-in-law. He collapsed. Joyce's heart dropped. When Peter came out, she told him. They rushed to the hospital. The hospital was filled with family members and church elders when they arrived. Peter's father had suffered a heart attack and was unconscious. Peter's mother pulled Joyce aside. I want to tell you something, she said in a low voice. Before he fainted, he called your name. Joyce was shocked. Me? Yes. He kept saying, tell Joyce I'm sorry. I didn't know. Joyce blinked in confusion. Didn't know what? I don't know, Peter's mother said. But I think there's more going on than we know. That night, Joyce sat beside her father-in-law's hospital bed. She looked at the man who once judged her, who never welcomed her like his wife had. Now he was weak and pale, with machines helping him breathe. Suddenly, his eyes opened. Joyce leaned forward. Daddy, she whispered. He turned his head slowly and looked at her. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I'm sorry, he said in a faint voice. Joyce's eyes filled with tears. Why? He swallowed hard. Your marriage. I almost destroyed it. Joyce sat still. I knew about the photo, he confessed. Your sister didn't act alone. Joyce gasped. What? I told her to find something on you. I didn't want my son marrying a girl from nowhere. I thought you were not good enough. Joyce's heart pounded. But after watching you these past months, your kindness, your strength, I was wrong. Joyce covered her mouth with her hands. I should have stopped it, he whispered. But I was too proud. Joyce felt like the walls were closing in. I hope Peter forgives me. And I hope you can too. She held his hand. I forgive you. A tear dropped from his eye. Then he closed them again, exhausted. That night, Joyce told Peter everything. Peter sat in silence for a long time. So it was him too, he asked. Joyce nodded. He and Jomi. Peter rubbed his forehead. This family has carried too many secrets. Joyce placed her hand on his. But now the truth is out. Peter looked at her and smiled for the first time in weeks. And we're still standing. They held each other, knowing the worst had passed. But neither of them knew what tomorrow would bring. Because in this family, peace never lasted long. Joyce woke up to the sound of singing birds outside the window. The morning sun warmed her face. For the first time in a long while, she felt peace. Peter was still asleep beside her. She watched him quietly. His chest rose and fell gently. She reached out and touched his hand. This calm moment was something she had fought hard for. But deep inside her heart, she knew peace never lasted long in their lives. Peter's father was still in the hospital, recovering. Joyce had forgiven him, and Peter was slowly beginning to as well. They were healing as a family, until another shadow arrived. It was a Saturday morning. Joyce had gone to the market to buy vegetables. As she walked past the roadside, a voice called her name. Joyce. She turned. Two women stood by the roadside, her old friends from university, Tina and Sandra. Joyce's heart dropped. They were the same girls she used to run around with during her wild school days. The same girls who had introduced her to the lecturer that changed everything. "Oh my God!" Tina screamed and hugged her. "Is this really you?" Joyce smiled awkwardly. "Yes, it's me." Sandra stepped forward with a sly grin. "Madam Pastor's wife, how's your rich husband?" Joyce's smile faded. "I'm doing fine, thank you." "Now you day enjoy, oh," Tina said. "You remember that time we slept with Dr. Uche? You foresee how people still day talk about that man really liked you." Joyce felt her skin crawl. "I have to go," she said quickly and walked away. But Sandra called after her. "Hope say your husband no sabi anything, or he go shock him die." Joyce walked faster. Her hands shook. Her eyes burned. She got home, dropped the market bag on the floor, and locked herself in the bedroom. Her mind was spinning. Why now? Why had they come back into her life? She didn't know Peter had walked in behind her. "What's wrong?" he asked. Joyce jumped. "Nothing. I saw some old friends." Peter tilted his head. "You're shaking." Joyce looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. "Peter, if I tell you something, will you still love me?" Peter frowned. "What is it?" Joyce sat on the edge of the bed, her fingers trembling. "There's something I never told you about that picture. About that night with the lecturer." Peter sat beside her, silent. Joyce took a deep breath. "It only happened once. I swear. I was desperate. I needed school fees, and my father had refused to help. My friend said it was the only way. I hated myself afterward, but I buried it and moved on." Peter's eyes narrowed, and the man in the picture was the lecturer, Dr. Uche. "And now, I just saw those friends again. They're talking. They know too much." Peter looked away for a moment. Then he stood. "I need to know everything. No more secrets, Joyce. If we are going to survive this marriage, you must be honest with me completely." Joyce nodded. Her heart was breaking again. That evening, Peter called his private investigator. "I need to know who those girls are, what they want, if they're planning to blackmail us." The man agreed. Meanwhile, Joyce received a strange message on her phone. "Meet us behind Old Central Hall at 8 p.m., or your husband gets the full story." Joyce's hands shook. She showed the message to Peter. "I'm going with you," he said firmly. But Joyce shook her head. "No, I have to face this myself." Peter paused. "Are you sure?" Joyce nodded. "This time, I must clean up my own past." At 8 p.m. sharp, Joyce walked into the dark alley behind Old Central Hall. The air was thick with tension. Tina and Sandra stood waiting, holding a brown envelope. Sandra smiled wickedly. "We always knew you would come. What do you want?" Joyce asked. Tina smirked. "Money. That's all. 2 million naira. Or this envelope goes to your husband and the media." Joyce's eyes filled with tears. "I don't have that kind of money." Sandra shrugged, then prepared to lose everything again. Joyce took a deep breath. "I don't care what you do," she said slowly. "I've already told my husband everything. Every shameful detail. There's nothing left to hide." Tina's face fell. "You what?" "I told him," Joyce repeated. "He knows about the lecturer. He knows about you both. He forgave me." Sandra's mouth twisted. "You're lying." Joyce stepped closer. "Try me. Go ahead and release whatever you have. You won't destroy me this time." Suddenly, Peter stepped out from behind a tree. He had been recording everything. And now, he said coldly, I have you both threatening my wife. That's enough for the police. Sandra and Tina froze. Peter held up his phone. One more move, and I pressed send. They turned and ran into the dark. Joyce collapsed in his arms, crying. I was so scared, she whispered. Peter hugged her tightly. You don't have to be scared anymore. I've got you. Back at home, Joyce felt lighter. The past was no longer chasing her. She had faced it and she had survived. Peter came into the room with tea and sat beside her. I'm proud of you, he said. She smiled weakly. Thank you. They sat in silence, holding hands. Joyce whispered, Do you think we'll be okay? Peter kissed her forehead. Yes, as long as we stay honest and hold on to each other. It felt like they were finally building something real, something strong. But neither of them knew another storm was coming. And this time, it would shake everything they had left. Joyce sat on the veranda, watching the sky turn gray. The clouds were heavy and the wind whispered a warning. Rain was coming. Inside the house, Peter was pacing. His phone had just buzzed with the news. My father is dead, he said, voice low. Joyce froze. What? He passed away in his sleep last night. The hospital just called. Joyce's heart sank. She had never fully understood Peter's father. He was cold, distant, and hard to please. But she also knew Peter loved him in his own quiet way. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Peter nodded, staring into the distance. We need to travel to the village. There's going to be a family meeting. Burial plans, inheritance talks, and a lot of tension. Joyce understood. In every Nigerian home, death brought out old secrets and long-hidden anger. As they packed for the trip, Joyce had a strange feeling, like something was waiting for them in the village, something unfinished. They arrived in Peter's village the next morning. The air smelled of fresh palm trees and wet sand. People had already gathered. Women wailed. Men sat quietly, discussing. Peter's older brothers barely greeted him. The tension was thick. Joyce kept her head low. Later that evening, Peter sat with his mother. Joyce watched from a distance. Peter returned with a heavy look on his face. My father left a letter, he said, addressed to me. He asked that I read it only after his death. Joyce looked at him. What does it say? Peter took a deep breath and opened the folded sheet. As he read, his face changed. First confusion, then pain, then shock. He handed the letter to Joyce, hands trembling. Joyce read it out loud. My son, if you are reading this, then I am gone. I know I was never the father you deserved. I was strict, cold, and sometimes cruel. But I want to confess something before I am buried. Years ago, I met a young girl at the university, Joyce. I had no idea who she was. I only knew she was one of the girls helping my friend, Dr. Uche. One night, I followed my friend into the staff quarters and I saw him with her. I never forgot her face. So when you brought Joyce home and introduced her as your wife, my heart dropped. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't bear to destroy your happiness. But I always watched her closely. And slowly I saw that she had changed. She was not that same girl. She was gentle, loyal, loving. I judged her wrongly. I'm sorry. Please protect her. And never let your past destroy your future. Dad. Joyce stared at the paper. Her hand shook. Peter looked at her, speechless. Your father, she whispered. He saw me that night? Peter nodded slowly. And he said nothing. All these years. Joyce stood up and walked into the backyard. The world felt upside down again. She remembered how uncomfortable she had always felt around her father-in-law. The way he looked at her. Now she knew why. Peter followed her outside. I don't even know what to say, he murmured. Joyce turned to him. It's over now. He's gone. And he made peace in his own way. Peter held her hands. I'm glad he finally saw the truth. That you are not your past. You're my wife, my future. Tears filled Joyce's eyes. And you, she said softly, are the only man who ever truly stood by me. That night, after the village meeting, Peter's mother pulled Joyce aside. There's something you should know, she said in a whisper. Your sister, Jomi. Joyce blinked. What about her? Peter's mother looked around, then leaned in closer. After that photo broke your marriage, I once saw Jomi in town. She was with two girls, talking about how they sent it to Peter. Joyce felt her knees weaken. She what? Peter's mother nodded. I didn't want to believe it, but I know what I saw. One of the girls said she thinks we won't expose her. Let her enjoy the marriage small. Then we will finish her. Joyce gasped. I thought Jomi was trying to protect me. Peter's mother touched her shoulder gently. Sometimes the people closest to us carry the deepest jealousy. Back in Lagos, 1 week later, Joyce called her sister. Come over. We need to talk. Jomi arrived looking nervous. She sat down quietly. Joyce stared at her. Why did you do it, Jomi? Why didn't you tell me who sent that photo? Jomi looked down. I didn't know how to say it. Was it you? Joyce asked directly. Jomi's eyes filled with tears. I didn't send it, but I didn't stop them either. I was there. I knew they had it. I knew they wanted to destroy your marriage. And I kept quiet. Why? Joyce asked. Jomi broke down crying. Because I was angry. I struggled to finish school. You got married to a good man. You had a nice house. Everything seemed perfect. And I was still in Mama's house suffering. Joyce stood still, her heart breaking. You should have come to me, she said softly. I was ashamed, Jomi whispered. Joyce sighed. I've made mistakes too, Jomi. But I would never want you to suffer. They sat in silence. Two sisters. One broken truth between them. Finally, Joyce reached out and held her sister's hand. Let's not let pain break us again. We've both hurt. We both deserve peace. Jomi nodded, sobbing. I'm sorry. That evening, Joyce sat on the sofa, watching Peter play with their baby girl. Yes, they had gone through fire. But here they were, together. Stronger. Joyce whispered to herself, my past didn't break me. It made me. And somewhere in her heart, she thanked God for grace, for truth, and for second chances.